Do you know who Abu Abalda al-Maghribi is?
He sounds vaguely familiar.
Well, I didn't know who he was. It's okay if you don't know who he is, but you'll never have a chance
Sounds like
to meet.
someone who's in ISIS.
He's in ISIS. He's not in ISIS anymore because he's had his head severed.
Okay, well, we're starting off with that good news.
This is a story that is not in a lot of places. I found it on a Moroccan news network because apparently he's Moroccan born, but he was ISIS's security head in Aleppo, Syria. But ISIS believes that he has been giving information about ISIS plans and locations and information about ISIS to the United Kingdom, to the British, and so ISIS found out about it, and they have severed the head of one of their own.
Jeez.
Their intelligence chiefs. So they don't play, it would appear.
It doesn't surprise me that they would do something like that if they feel that their security is being compromised because of a narc.
Now, the story has not made its way into sort of mainstream press yet, and so maybe it'll turn out not to be true. But anyway, I like this. Again, I think ISIS is. I'm very anxious to see what the Islamic State does when it comes time to be a state and not just go around seizing dams and cutting Shiites' heads off. Like, at some point, they got to govern, they got to pave roads, they got to make the water work.
Right.
And again, sort of cutting off the heads of one of their own, a guy who might have had friends. I'm just not certain that these guys aren't going to be a bit of a flash in the pan, a serious flash in the pan, but we'll get to that. So since Ann and I are having a lovely discussion about beheadings, we thought we'd talk some more about them. Saudi Arabia, this month, August, so far, has beheaded 23 people. Our good friends, the Saudis, 23 beheadings. Really staggering story. Last Monday, 4 men, 2 sets of brothers. Amnesty International says it's all based on false confessions. It's been a massive surge in executions since the start of Ramadan in the end of July, on July 28th. 4 men and 1 family were executed for receiving drugs. These are crazy crimes these people have been charged with. Petty crimes and then forced confessions for the petty crimes. And then when the families complained to international organizations, to human rights organizations like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, what happens? The Saudi government comes to them and says, stop complaining. And when you're about to cut off the head of the family member, the warning from the kingdom to stop complaining seems like it would carry a little weight.
Of course.
That maybe you should shut up. So some of these quotes are really staggering. So 4 smugglers, it reads here, were executed on August 18th for smuggling a large quantity of hashish into the country amid an effort. Now read this very carefully. Amid an effort by King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz Al Saud and the government to tackle the social ill of narcotics, and warned that anyone else doing the same would also be punished according to Sharia. So keep that up there. 4 smugglers executed August 18th for bringing hash into the country. This may be the 2 sets of brothers or the family of 4, I'm not sure. And they were beheaded to tackle the social ill of narcotics and warned that anyone else doing the same would be punished according to Sharia. Now look at the bottom of the screen there. That's the Saudi press agency. We live in a country here where we have crazy Republicans in Oklahoma and all over the country saying we've got to pass laws banning Sharia. And rightly, you and I and Cenk come on this show and mock these buffoons because there's no Sharia law here. And we mock Sharia law, of course, as the law of fundamentalists and people not interested in justice. And we think that who wants to impose Sharia law is the Islamic State. That's ISIS that wants to do that. But look, put the quote up again. It's graphic 4. It's from the Saudi press agency. Effort by King Abdullah to warn anyone doing the same they'd also be punished according to Sharia. These are our closest allies. Our closest allies. And their press agency is talking about it. It's just this story is a very stark reminder of the dangerous people who we get in bed with, but for some reason, and I understand the reason.
You understand the reasons.
But no, I got it. But like, we're going to turn around here, we're going to say, whatever issue we're having fighting the Islamic State in Syria is what we can't do. You'll hear Lindsey Graham say, you'll hear John McCain say, what we can't do is get in bed with Assad. Because what? He's tangibly worse than this? I don't know. You know what? I think he is tangibly worse than this. But we are dealing with unbelievable, deep shades of gray.
Right. I mean, this is political realism when it comes to foreign policy. This is not something that surprises me at all. Whenever it comes to the best economic interests of the United States, of course they will turn a blind eye to anything that they would find objectionable in any other country. So it's interesting to see that we will denounce, rightfully so, the beheadings carried out by ISIS, but when it comes to the Saudi government carrying out beheadings for things like sorcery, we'll turn a blind eye to it because of our economic interests. That's just the way it works in foreign policy. It's unfortunate, I don't agree with it, but it is what it is.
Mohammed bin Bakr al-Alawi was beheaded August 5th for allegedly practicing black magic sorcery. Sorcery! And they executed him.
And his family members had argued that he had mental illnesses.
That's a different guy.
That's a different guy.
This guy was just a regular, upfront, non-crazy guy practicing sorcery. We don't even know
if he was practicing sorcery. Oftentimes they'll force confessions from them. They'll torture them until they confess to doing something that they probably haven't done. And by the way, even in the case of the drug-related crime, so they tried to smuggle hashish into the country. That's enough for you to behead 4 people?
There's no victims in this crime. But so, by the way, I don't want to tell the kingdom its business, but suppose he was practicing sorcery. It's not real. Who gives a shit? So here's the next one, graphic 6 then. Here's what Anna was talking about. A mentally ill man, Hajrash Al-Khoury.
Good job with these names, by the way.
Thank you. Has been sentenced to death for drug trafficking after an unfair trial and will be killed August 25th. So mentally ill was this guy, Hajrash Al-Khoury, that they did an independent evaluation. And the independent evaluation found that, yes, he has significant mental illness. Nobody disputes that in any way. Auditory hallucinations is what the independent investigation found. So they ordered his investigation anyway. Ordered his execution anyway, his beheading anyway, even though everyone acknowledged he was mentally ill. His son said, no, my dad was just driving. He doesn't know anything. My dad has, because he hallucinates. My dad is a crazy person. I did it all. The son was sentenced to 20 years and 1,000 lashes.
That's amazing.
And the dad has been sentenced to death. Inexplicable, that decision means. The small, and it is an incredibly small bit of good news. He was scheduled to be executed August 25th, which as Anna and I sit here was yesterday. He was not executed. I had to do some serious work to find that out. Serious work. I just went to Amnesty International's webpage and Google and searched for him. But it was some work, and I felt good about it.
All right. Congratulations.
He was not executed yesterday, but Amnesty International still says, and this is quote, he is still at imminent risk of execution.
Just to tie in previous stories that we've done, I mean, it makes me realize how incredibly courageous it is for people who are not allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia to get behind the wheel and drive, specifically women. They don't have the right to drive. They have to have a male chaperone with them at all times. They have to get permission from their husbands if they want to go anywhere. And if you are living in a country where they justify killing someone who is mentally ill or justify killing someone for practicing black magic sorcery, you are really putting your life at risk by defying them and going out there and getting behind the wheel.
And of course, the United States on this regard, silent. The war crimes of Hafez al-Assad, Bashir al-Assad, excuse me, we have no problems condemning. This, however, will, of course, because it's the kingdom. Real quick, here's what Amnesty International has to play. This is from Saeed Boumeduha. He is the Deputy Director of Amnesty International for the Middle East. This will be graphic 1. The use of the death penalty in Saudi Arabia is so far removed from any kind of legal parameters that it is almost hard to believe. Again, they've killed very few people. They beheaded, I think I saw the number, fewer than 10 people before Ramadan started on July 28th. Since then, they're at 23, and they didn't execute this guy yesterday, who would have been, I presume, 24. Let's go right to graphic 2. Again, this is more from the same guy, the Deputy Director of Amnesty International in the Middle East. The people are tortured into confessing to crimes, convicted in shameful trials without adequate legal support, then executed as a sickening indictment of the kingdom's state-sanctioned brutality. And the final thing, graphic 3, it is clear that the authorities are more interested in threatening victims' families to shut them up rather than putting an end to this grotesque phenomenon. When you complain to Amnesty International, when they complain to Human Rights Watch, the kingdom comes to them and tells them to shut up. In case people don't know, Saudi Arabia executes people at the 4th highest rate in the world. They're 4th in the top 5.
What's the top?
I believe 3 is Iraq. This was in 2012. The last information we had fully is 2012. 2012, Saudi Arabia was 4, Iraq was 3, Iran was 2, China was number 1, and at number 5,
the United States. I love that you brought that up.
The United
because
States of America, right.
As you were reading that last graphic, I thought about the number of innocent people we executed, knowing that they had severe mental illnesses, right? They've had multiple IQ tests done that prove that they are not intelligent enough to carry out a premeditated murder.
Right.
How many people have we killed based on false testimony, planted evidence from prosecutors, faulty DNA evidence? I mean, there is definitely room for improvement when it comes to the U.S. justice system, specifically when it comes to the issue of the death penalty. So, look, we are not as draconian in the United States when it comes to our laws compared to Saudi Arabia, but we definitely have to do a little self-reflection when it comes to our own justice system as well.
We lock people up, stick them in prison for 13 years, don't give them a trial. You know, we take people and scoop them up in one country, take them to another and torture them, and then we redact most of the report.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I get it. We're better, but here's the list we're on again as we conclude this segment. China, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia. When those are the first 4 on any list, there's no list where those are the first 4 and you want to be 5th. No list. And we're there on Capital Punishment.